science and cybersecurity. The theme of the session is data-driven leadership, how to make impactful decisions.
Please put your hands together for Dr. Puran Pandey, Fellow CU Austria, Mr. Ishan Taneja, MD and CU, UAS International India, Dr. Jatinder Singh, Assistant Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS Ghaziabad. Let's have a huge round of applause for the august contributions of the leading leaders.
Rapid innovation are the reality in the VUCA world of today, wherein technological advancements such as artificial intelligence, data analytics, robotics, and machine learning are having multiple social, economic, political, and business implications. What turn will be taken by the new era in times to come is anybody's guess. But as the world is matching pace with the acceleration, academic and business leaders have to rewrite the fundamental rules to address the strategic challenges and respond swiftly to meet the competitive thrust.
In this direction, we are optimistic that the plenary session will provide a great learning platform for academicians, researchers and industry magnates for expanding their horizon of knowledge and develop responsive acumen for addressing the opportunities and disruptions.
The secret of change is to focus on your energy, not to finding the old, but building on the new. These words beautifully describe a distinguished expert speaker, Dr. Puran Pandey. It is a privilege to introduce him.
Dr. Puran Pandey specializes in geopolitics, international affairs, economic diplomacy, private sector, and development cooperation. A contributor to International Encyclopedia by Springer Nature Europe, he holds academic, advisory, and writing assignment at the UTS Sydney, Climate Scorecard US, the Carbon Policy Institute, Cameroon, Middle East Institute, Asia Program Washington, and New Zealand Center for Global Studies New Zealand. He also sits on boards on UN, business cooperation and non-profit, nationally and internationally.
Previously, he served as a founding CEO of a Berlin-based global think tank and held United Nations and Times of India, and author of 5 books and many research papers in referred journals internationally. Mr. Puran holds an MPhil degree in International Studies from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and is trained in Russia, China, Sweden, Germany, US, UK, and Japan. He is also a Shirley Scholar at the London School of Economics and Political Science, London. Let's have a huge round of applause for him.
May we request Dr. Urvashi to kindly present a token of greeting to Dr. Puran Pandey. Ma'am, please. Let's have a huge round of applause for sir. Welcome, sir. You cannot discover new ocean unless you have the courage to leave the side of the shores. One result-oriented personality who lives by these words is our eminent speaker, Mr. Ishan Taneja, MD and CEO, US International, a dynamic professional having more than 12 years of rich experience and expertise in setting up international and national level marketing networks. He has conducted over 300 workshops in numerous A-listed institutes on career management. An expert in handling client queries, Mr. Ishan has earned the title of Marketing Specialist and has written 3 books on marketing. A graduate from London School of Economics with Masters from IIM Calcutta. He is also a successful entrepreneur and has launched 4 successful brands in the last 7 years. Please have a huge round of applause for him.
May we request Dr. Ajay Patel to kindly present a sapling to Mr. Ishan Taneja. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir.
Do not look how long it will take you to accomplish your goals or how hard it will be. Take it step by step and know that one day it will be all worth it. An embodiment of these inspiring words is our distinguished expert speaker, Dr. Jatinder Singh, Assistant Secretary General, PhD, Chambers of Commerce and Industry. We feel honored in introducing him.
Dr. Jatinder is a doctorate in management having over 25 years of illustrious experience in domain of sustainability academia, international networking, and policy advocacy. He has been working closely with industry, government, multilateral organization, international agency, and think tanks on elite project, policy issue and campaigns, regulatory initiative, and many more. He is on the board of numerous reputed government organizations such as National Human Rights Commission India, National Board of Quality Promotion, Board of Apprenticeship Training, just to name a few. A renowned author, he has many books to his credit and is the recipient of many awards. Let's have a huge round of applause for sir.
May we request Dr. Agarwal to kindly present a token of greeting to Dr. Jitendra Singh. Please.
A pioneer has the vision and conviction that a dream can be achieved and inspire the power and energy to get it done. One such visionary is none other than Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS Ghaziabad, an academician par excellence, having over 26 years of illustrious track record in management education, an innovator, a charismatic leader who believes in not following the footsteps but on being original and creating her own path. A big round of applause for her.
May we request Dr. Parul Yadav to kindly welcome Dr. Urvashi with a token of greeting. Thank you, ma'am.
Very humbly, may we now request Dr. Urvashi to kindly deliver the inaugural address.
I think a few minutes ago I already have spoken to the same audience, and incidentally all the panelists were also there. I will not take much time because I'm really looking forward to listening to the wisdom of all the panelists on dais. But yes, I take definitely the proud opportunity to welcome all the guests of our campus on dais and off dais, various delegates from the different institutes, and our own very dear students who are here to learn on this international conference. So my welcome on behalf of all of you to Dr. Puran Pandey, Mr. Ishan, and Mr. Jiten. And I'm so sure that the deliberations of this session are going to give you the further insights which you are trying to build up since yesterday. And I'm sure as a learner, if I look into the conference till now, since yesterday morning it started with the inaugural session, so many of the new insights have been shared, lot of new experiences, perspectives of the different experts have been shared with all of us. And the discussion which has definitely caught my fancy has been, which is centered around the role of AI and how it's going to have the impact on the human values. Is there going to be any alignment between the human values and AI implementation in the society? What are going to be the ramifications, repercussions tomorrow on the human life in society? This is an area which I am really keen to listen to the more extent. I am sure the current set of the experts on dais will take this issue forward, because that is one area which is of great concern today of the various societies all over the world. There is undoubtedly no dispute on this aspect that AI is going to be having a huge impact on every single society of this globe, and that impact will be very positive also, no denying. So I am leaving the dais for the other experts to take care of the deliberations of this session. Thank you very much, and my dear students, I am hoping you will take it more interactive. I have seen a lot of interest of my students, which is giving us a lot of encouragement also, that student fraternity is interested to learn more. And besides this major advantage of attending this workshop to understand a specific area of concern which is currently AI in this conference, I believe the students who are attending and who are part of the core committees, they are learning a lot of life skills also. They are learning how to manage various core responsibility areas, how tomorrow they will be managing certain events in their workplaces, how to conceive the idea to plan a particular activity in a meticulous way and to take it forward. I can see the young team of the comparers doing great job, standing over here, doing impromptu discussions and encouraging the audience. So I'm so sure that such conferences, when happen in any of the B school campus, any of the academic institution, they don't come up with the advantages of the deliberations of the experts only. That is one component. Besides that, they come up with huge multitude and multiplicity of the advantages in form of the life skills, peer learning and interaction, which is being learned by the delegates and the participants. And here the larger segment of the participant is the students of our own campus. I'm very sure they are getting the huge benefit. So wish you all the very best for today's session also, and try to be much more interactive, ask many more questions. I'm sure that will give us bigger insights about the issue in hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful words. May we now request Dr. Amit Bhati to present a token of gratitude to Mr. Sharma.
Let's have a huge round of applause for Mr. Shubha. Taking the session forward, we request Mr. Ishant Tariza to share his word of wisdom with our enthusiastic audience. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Since almost an hour before means I was just attending this session, and I relate my college life, because many of you will be sitting for the attendance, right? So before I start and speak on the topic, just try to connect to the audience first. At the starting of my masters, particularly, there's so many bubbles in everyone's life, right? At the starting of masters, if you're schooling good in marketing, you feel like marketing is good for me, I'll be pursuing my career into marketing, because you're schooling good. The second semester, all of a sudden you started scoring good in some of the subjects of finance. You feel like, no, marketing is not good for me, I'll pursue finance. How many of you relate this bubbles in your life right now? Raise your hands. But these bubbles are there, so that I feel like as a speaker I'm able to connect to you guys. These bubbles are there. The third semester, fourth semester, the time step by step you're proceeding towards your specialization. The difference of a decade of education is that right now such forums, such platforms are happening up, includes your SIP programs or live projects. Why I personally feel like these conferences and such exposure programs plays a vital role so that you are able to understand what you're good in. Sometimes you feel like you're good in marketing, but you are not executed what you're learning. But these programs, these conferences, such SIP programs or live projects, or any kind of exposure that you're getting over and above your academic life, will be actually providing a value add in your, to have a clarity what next in life. Now coming on to today's topic, artificial intelligence playing a vital role in everyone's life. In more of different categories we are falling in. Maybe, I want to purchase a product, I'm just doing a Google. But how it is connected to my social media, my Instagram, or maybe I'm searching some, any kind of item on Amazon, right? Definitely it has to be pop-up on my Amazon cart. But why it is getting pop-up on my Instagram, on my Facebook? That is the impact of daily needs linked to the social media. So social media is not just getting social these days, but definitely it is one of the biggest platforms to sell, to market, or to brand. What we see, right? On the another side, just going through certain startups where I have personally invested in, as in, into startups. Definitely it's been 28 startups so far. We have put in my capital. So one was Neo Cards. I'm sharing my examples. And what was Neo Cards? It's a tech company. Till date, when we are traveling abroad, right? We buy Forex, we get the money load. For an example, you're traveling to US, so there is a halt in Abu Dhabi, and you have loaded the US dollars in your international card. But if you swipe that card at Abu Dhabi airport, there is a double commission that the bank will charge. That's what is Forex all about, the transactions of the bankers. What personally appealed me as an investor to put my money in such projects, they put a chip in the card. They sense which country you are traveling to. You have a wallet, you put the money is in mobile app, linked to your bank account. You don't have to call a banker. That chip will sense by your location that where you are actually landing to. At that time, you will be having a pop-up that you are in Abu Dhabi. Any money you want to transfer from INR to that particular account, immediately you can swipe that much dollars. That is what artificial intelligence is all about. They are automatically judging where you are landing, and you don't have to pre-purchase the Forex now. And that will save the commission rates and the transaction rates. Over and above the human efforts, I don't have to call any banker. I don't have to call the customer care, right? Automatically I can withdraw money, I can deposit the money just on a mobile app. I can block my card or this and that services that Neo cards were giving. It was an association of Visa, US, Neo, and Bank of America. So there were 4 to 5 collaborations by launching this. Now coming on to certain limitations, that the dependency that we increase. I hope if you guys are updated or not, or maybe some of you have booked a new car in automobile sector. The delivery of the cars are getting delayed by 8 weeks to 16 weeks. Maybe Kia, maybe other brands you are dealing with, maybe Maruti. If it is an automatic car, the automatic version, then the delay is there. Why? Because of artificial intelligence, because there is a chip which is manufactured from Korea and China, and due to certain issues, we are not able to import that artificial intelligence chip in Indian market. Due to that, it is impacting the manufacturing. The cars are ready, but the chips is not there of artificial intelligence. So that is the dependency and the limitations that we have. But on the other side, if we talk about entrepreneurship, if we talk about the opportunity for youth, I personally feel we are importing something, so there is an opportunity of manufacturing. We are dependent on that chip, due to that delay of manufacturing is there. But if we manufacture it in-house, and we create the opportunity, so that limitation can be our strength too. Right? Made in India, Modi schemes. Right? So as an investor, as an opportunities, definitely when we talk about the current course curriculums, as a speaker, I visit in various campuses these days. What I see is that right now you have an option to choose the subjects now when it comes to specializations. It's not rigid like you have to go for 6 subjects or 8 subjects. That is one. But if I be at your place, definitely masters is something, and we are talking about the opportunities as you are future young trust managers of India. So when we talk about opportunities, artificial intelligence on one side, definitely reducing the human efforts. But on the other side, huge opportunities are there that are coming up just because of this. For an example, we never thought that it's like a month ago, I just downloaded an app, Zapco, in Gurgaon area. 10 minutes with a countdown machine. Within 10 minutes, they deliver whatever I want. 10 minutes. So we never thought that such deliveries is possible within 10 minutes timeline with a timer. And artificial intelligence will search a nearby rider. Artificial intelligence is, be required because they have the godowns in that way, the warehouses, where the packets are ready, the runner is coming, picking up, and within 10 minutes delivering me, so definitely artificial intelligence is required. And they are giving good contribution in our GDP as well. Because now, a normal rider who was working on 3,000 monthly wage or 4,000, they are earning at least, I was just going for research, publication of London School of Economics last week only, the average Indian GDP growth and the increase of the income below poverty line, there are increases from 3,000 to 7,800 approx. So that is an economic contribution that artificial intelligence is doing in my eyes. It's not just for the people who are making money, but we have to see all the levels of our society. With a wage person who is earning 3,000 now earning 7,800 to 8,000 rupees just because of this artificial intelligence. The Uber drivers, the Ola drivers, these riders, everyone is dependent on artificial intelligence. Now coming on to data protection. I'll not speak much because I can say multiple speakers are taking much time, and definitely they have experiences to share. End-to-end encryption that we have nowadays. So our government is very much protective in the mode of data leaks. Just to share a recent research, Indo-Canadian meet I was a part last month. Now there are so many apps which have been banned related to China. I'll not highlight the country, but there are multiple countries. In the same way, US has also taken account where they have banned almost 867 apps last week just because of the data issue. So the government is very much active working on data, where the data leakage is not there, misusing of data, right? So these are the aspects. The opportunities are, I feel like I shared the automobile sector. When the chips are not getting imported, we have opportunity to manufacture. And that is what artificial intelligence is all about. I'm searching a product, definitely it's a business opportunity for the people who are managing artificial intelligence in a way. Limitations, definitely. We are so much dependent now on artificial intelligence these days in separate ways. We can now go, even cars are coming, you want to park a car, you don't have to drive, you just put that button, the car will take a space. That is what artificial intelligence is all about, right? So it's not one, there are 100 of the new opportunities that are coming up with the artificial intelligence. Last but not the least, Max and Fortis are coming with certain artificial intelligence. They have even the research labs, R&D teams that are settling down. Just because of this artificial intelligence, now they have launched a new version of AICTE device. Initially, means it's like, I think you're able to understand more. Pacemaker, right? Everyone has heard pacemaker. But the new version of pacemaker is AICTE device. It's totally on artificial intelligence. Now, pacemaker used to detect the heart attacks. And the person rushes out and he has an alert, right? And initially, when we want in 1980s, if anyone wants to have a pacemaker, they have to travel to US to get it done. But now the new trend is AICTE device. What is this AICTE device? If you have a heart problem, means after 60s or 65 age, 50% of the heart will shrink just because of the age. So at that time, this AICTE device not only detect the heart, but pass the current as well to manage the heart attack. That is again a live example, contribution to the human life of the artificial intelligence in the pharma sector. And they are coming with more and more devices. Now there are 7-8 brands, one for Germany, one for Finland. There are 7-8 brands who are actually giving this AICTE device over and above. Now they are campaigning as well. Once a week, they have a person sitting in the hospitals, or maybe once means, the heart patients, regularly they go for checkups, monthly basis or 2 months basis. Now the doctor just keep a device on your heart, if AICTE device is there, and he will check when you got the heart attack, what was the pulse throughout 2 months, what is the ECG going on, if there was a minor attack in between, he will tell you, and you feel that shock. So that is the I can say the artificial intelligence which is contributing to the human lives to reduce the deaths as well. And the live examples of certain artificial intelligence, IOGA-SETU. You do your assessment test, right? They check, okay, fine, you are on high risk, low risk. On your questions and answers, they decide you are on risk or not. You should stay in home or not. There is no operator sitting who is telling you the answers, right? So, opportunities are huge, limitations are there, contribution to the society is there, global level, right? That's my way. Any questions anyone wants to ask. My contribution to tech companies, to artificial intelligence, I'm one of the, in Zara 28, 10 startups are there where I have funded, right? In search, the new concepts that are coming in, right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your keen insights. Let's have a huge round of applause for Dr. Ishan Taneja.
Now it's our pleasure to request our distinguished expert speaker, Dr. Puran Pandey, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, and I'm truly thankful for being invited for this very, very important conference which is taking place today, and it of course took place yesterday as well. So I'm very, very thankful to begin with, and I have a chance today. Unlike Ishan, he's a young man, he has been funding a lot of startups, he's pretty fluid, but I'll be cut and dry. Because I will probably like to take you to a different kind of pathway, and how will that pathway in terms of technology, big data, IR 4.0, VUCA world, I mean these are the kind of things which, and then on the top, you'll also have metaverse, you will have anti-gravity technology which is in the making. You will have several things like Navidad of Muslim did talk about biotechnology, and when you mix it with quantum computing, for example, what might happen? It might not really only touch a life in ways that you have not imagined sitting here 10 years in advance, but there could be things at a scale which you might be very excited to know today, but then you could be very nervous as well. So these things, technology, public policy, poverty, how long you live, all these things come in package. And there's nothing that, you have one thing and it is honky-dory, or there is something which is pretty bad. So all that I can tell you and caution you, when we talk about technology, when we talk about innovation, we talk about transformation, we then try to begin to apply these segments of technology into what will happen to us. What might happen to my heart? Will I live 90 years? Or if I were to die tomorrow, if I have something in my pocket, it will give me the beep and then I could go to a hospital, or maybe I have already given some fees to a hospital and somebody is monitoring my heartbeat in the hospital. So I can tell you, wherever we are going to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, I'm at least pretty excited about it. With all the senior things panning out, I want to really see people saving their life, but then I'm nervous as well. I don't really want to know something whereby I am being monitored all the time, 24/7, all the 7 days of the week, all the time during the day, and on a very, very constant basis. So I'm nervous as well. So that is my premise before I really go a little deeper. There are a couple of things which have been settled. So the two things which are settled is that economists cannot take care of everything. Until about 10 years back and more so now, you go to any government, you go to any business, you go to anywhere, including so these posts like IMS, you find that people are sitting and doing the number crunching. What comes in, what goes out, and it must be done. But I have come to realize and acknowledge as well that economists cannot really do everything on their own. And this is what was highlighted by, panelists who were prior to our session. Everybody said, look, we need to be collaborative. We need to allow the things to evolve. We need to do things on a scale, and before you could really find a fit in the ground. But I can tell you with my own experience, my own background, my background in terms of having worked with some very leading economists, some of who are also Nobel Prize winners. Like Abhijit Banerjee was my batchmate in JNU. But I keep on telling him as well that look, you economists cannot do everything and then say that look, with all presumptions and injunctions, you'll come out with a model and that model is going to really operate. So this thing is one thing which is to remember. Secondly, all the technologists cannot solve all the problems. They all have limitations. They will find the limitation not only in terms of what they know, but also in terms of how they will come out with a product or a service which will really play out in your life and in my life as well. So while these two things are settled, the technologists cannot do everything on their own, and economists also cannot do everything on their own. And therefore, what one of the panelists said in the prior session was that we really need collaborative teams. We really need people coming in from different disciplines and backgrounds. So you really, if you're really doing some research on how technology will assist you tomorrow, you need not really have, people who are part of semiconductor industry, or somebody from engineering, or biotechnology, or economics, because we really need to look at what was the price point at which you could be offered that product. And if that is the case, then how will the economy of the scale will be arrived? Because if you have a product, and it will not really work with an economist, you will not really be able to find out the price point at which you need to be sold that product at. And then in order for the company or the person or the startup to be able to make money, they will really need to create the scale. So which is what we call as economy with scale. So if your scale is not big, money is not really going to be big enough as well, and therefore your venture or what you're planning to do will not really succeed ultimately. These two things are settled. Economists and technologists all by themselves cannot do everything. So this is a given thing. Two more things have been settled. And this is again interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. You really need to bring people from different areas and backgrounds to work together. One, that anybody, you, me, Vishal, Apollo, our government, whether in UP or in Delhi or anywhere across India or even beyond India, the governments in US and Canada and Singapore, they all need to now understand that they have to put people at the center. They cannot really do anything by putting people behind. So everyone, regardless of who they are, as I said, technologists, economists, hospitals, governments, business people, they all have got to begin to think about people. So people have to be at the center. And this is where the talk which went on in the prior session was inequality, poverty. How do you really lift people up? How do you really look at people from the point of how do you really democratize them? This is where technology comes to help. But if technology is something or an animal which puts people behind the door and does everything in a vacuum, that kind of technology is not really going to survive at all. So this is the one thing which is settled. in public policy debate that people have to be at the center of everything. Your thinking, my thinking, the way businesses will think, or the government will think. So people have to be at the center of everything. And this is where we could really try and see in terms of how could we really help people, support them, take care of inclusion, diversity, etc., access, Second thing which is settled in every public debate, not only in India, across the globe, that you really need to be understanding of the fact that while people are very important, you have got to take care of them, but then you also have got to see that you need to do whatever you want to do for people in a very, very decentralized way. You cannot really have your decision making which is top down. So you are sitting here and then you're deciding for everybody below you. Which means that if you do it, then you are violating the fundamental principle of truth, trust and technology, all the three things taken together. So people have to be at the center of everything for everyone, including the government. And this is where public policy, along with business people and everything else that goes on, will come on to conjoin and align in ways that everybody is really then going to walk together, and not very technology leaving people behind, or somebody is sitting and making the decision only at the top, and there is nothing percolating down to the bottom. So it has got to be bottom up. So decision making has to be has got to be decentralized, and has to be meant for the well-being, welfare, and development of the people. So these two things are settled beyond anybody's doubt. If somebody comes to you tomorrow and says, look, I will do everything sitting at the top, you should not trust that fellow. If you do it, then you are going to do it at your own ignorance, at your own disadvantage, and then it might not really help or suit you. Now we talk about technology and AI and metaverse, hospitals, what might happen to us, etc., etc. Now let me ask you one question, and this is what I kept on asking myself. Unless I began to travel, unless I began to go and talk to good people, unless I began to take part in public policy making exercise, I always used to ask myself, is technology about technology alone? Or there is something beyond it or benefit? Because that question is very, very important to be answered. It will take time. There is no one answer to what I'm asking all of you. There could be different people having different kind of notions. But one thing for sure has to be asked is technology only about technology? It is like food that we eat. We all eat chapati, we eat rice, we eat lentil. And did you ever think what could be the kind of component of flour that your mom will go or your dad will go and buy from the market? Now, suppose I go and buy 5 kg bag of flour for my household purposes, and I say pay 200 rupees to the vendor from whom I am buying that flour. I would really imagine, and I would really like to challenge each one of you sitting here, did you ever think how did the whole thing reach the market? Somebody is producing the grain, which in our case is a farmer, and that wheat will be how much? 70 rupees kg? Then it reaches through logistics and supply chain and artificial intelligence, which will really pin down where are more number of people who are really going to buy that kind of flour at 200 rupees price point. I take you further down that. When you really look at the pricing part of it, and then you try to begin to sort of annotate the portion that might be really holding a bigger part in how that product was priced. If you really sit down and think, you'll find out that a farmer who produced 1 kilogram of wheat, say, I'm taking a number which is presumptive number, but for the sake of being convenient, I'm saying 70 rupees. In that 70 rupee, 70% of 70 rupees means 49 is a part of the component which is energy. So when you or me or anybody else as a farmer is producing wheat in the field, 70% of the price, which is the eventual price of 70 rupees, is energy intensive. So you run the tractor on the field, you pump your field, you need fossil fuel, you pollute the atmosphere, and agriculture, and you can check it, contributes more than 70% in carbon emissions. It goes up, and we all sort of inhale or breathe that kind of air, and sometimes we don't realize it, sometimes we realize it only when we have to go to the hospital. While these things are fine, and I do not disagree with anybody, but I would really like to ask one simple question, and that is, when we talk about technology, artificial intelligence, semiconductor, many more things which might be improvised in terms of how technology today works, and the same technology might work in a different way tomorrow. I will really ask people who are proponents of technology. There are many questions that I have, but I have very limited time of 15 minutes. So I will really ask you one question. That if I were to come and talk to you about technology, money, value, scale, profit, you should ask these people, how do you measure it? Both the performance, because if I come to you and say, come, I'll take you to metaverse and put you into augmented reality, and you can visit Taj Mahal the way somebody else will look at Taj Mahal in a physical form. My question would be, while we talk about technology and everything else, how do you really measure the performance of technology, and what are the kind of parameters which are important to be put in? Because otherwise the debate will never settle. We will hear somebody, we will love somebody, and then we will go home happy. You should not do it. You should really challenge the way you think about it. Now, while we talk about everything else, there is a big debate now about how to really measure the impact, the scale, benevolence of technology or technology-assisted products and services. Like Misal was talking, keeping everything on wallet, and then, wherever you are, AI will identify you, and then my question would be, how do we really measure the performance of technology, which is very, very important. And therefore there is a debate, and the debate is not settled. And the debate began in the year 2005 with a UN report which, and you must Google this report if you have some interest in reading. And I'm telling it because, we are all part of IMS, which is an academic institution. So therefore you must go back and Google this report. It says who cares wins. And this report triggered the whole debate about ESG, which is about environmental, social, and governance. And you can really try and align them together in ways that nothing could be as solid as when these three elements come together and align. So you should not, or an entrepreneur should not, or a government should not, or a business should not do anything whereby they're not really being able to align how they impact society. So impact of business on society through environment. This means that it should not really come out with a product, which is riff-raff. Or you should not do anything whereby you cannot really influence or impact society on a scale. And the whole issue of governance, which means that anybody who is handling technology has got to be aware about how technology will be governed. And this is where, how do you really help people with regard to diversity, equity, inclusion, and democratize the pathway on which we're going to stand versus technology. And I can only say before I close that you should also go back and Google and see how much is the asset value under ESG now, starting from 2005 and we are in 2022. You will find out that $30 trillion, and this is not my concocted story, I never tell anything unless I have evidence to speak about it. Go and see what is the kind of asset value of ESG linked products and services under the management. It is roughly about $30 trillion as we speak to each other. And it also talks about how will technology be created, rolled out, and impact people in ways that it is truthful, it is intelligent, it is affordable, it has larger access, and eventually it puts people at the center of what technology is supposed to do. And I will again refer each one of you to read a report which was brought out by Niti Aayog and had some role to play there as well. The 2018 Niti Aayog report. It is on artificial intelligence. It talks about responsible artificial intelligence report. And they then talk about how will India leapfrog and leave China and US behind by 2030 by investing roughly about $150 billion. Though it's a dream, I travel quite a lot to US. I'm quite frequent to China before COVID-19 happened. And I can tell you, it'll be pretty hard for us. Because, we have to learn, we have to evolve, but then we should not really set our eyes away from the reality. And as everybody said, and I will only repeat, that certain values which are age-old, they're time-honored, they're tested. And when I used to talk to my father when he was alive, he would tell me that, look, his father, my grandfather, always used to tell my father that, look, you should do things and not really do it in a way that it becomes your master. And when I used to talk to my father said the same thing to me, that, never do a thing whereby you get overpowered by what you do. And I tell the same thing to my children. Because never do anything whereby you get overpowered. And I can only say that we have to, while technology is very good, as long as it is people-centric, it is decentralized, and it is being done by multiple people in a collaborative fashion. But remember one thing, and I am telling you, my grandfather, my father, and me, we have lived through 3 generations, each generation telling the other one, never do a thing whereby you get overpowered. I will only advise all of you to tame technology and not really allow technology to master you. If that happens, we will be living in a doomsday, and we will not really be able to find an easy way to come out of it. So, as long as technology serves us as a servant, it is fine. But the moment it becomes a master, you are gone. Not only technology is gone, but whole humanity is going to be doomed. Thank you very much, Moon.
Thank you so much, sir, for your keen insights. Let's have a huge round of applause for sir.
We now request Dr. Jitendra Singh to share his insights with us. So please.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and at the outset I am thankful to IMS Ghaziabad. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Please, take it.
due to the paucity of time, Mr. Ishan has to leave, so we will be facilitating him, and we request Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS Ghaziabad, to present a token of greeting. Let's have a huge round of applause.
We request ICTE team to please take the photographs. We once again thank you, sir, for joining us for the plenary session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, and since I am standing between you and lunch, I will not take much of the time, and as I was listening to Mr. Puran Pandey, I was thinking that I am in a class of noble laureates wherein we are talking of so much sort of economic blending with technology, blending with social sciences, blending with politics, and blending with whatnot. So in fact, sir, thank you for, I am in fact thankful to IMS Ghaziabad for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this ecosystem wherein we are talking of a lot of diversity. And as said by Mr. Puran Pandey, that whatever happens, we are talking of artificial intelligence, we are talking of big data, the person has to be in the center. It has to be people-centric. And as we are in this VUCA world, VUCA in fact it has become a sort of a synonym, particularly in COVID world. So I added one suffix and one prefix to VUCA. This is D-VUCA D. So first D stands for digital and second D stands for diversity. Right now this is the era that when we are talking of VUCA-like ecosystem, it is basically the digital footprint that is a part and parcel of each and every thing in the VUCA world, as well as embracing diversity. Because until unless we are having this diverse mindset, until unless we are in fact enabling this diversity ecosystem in our entire gamut of technology, we will be in fact giving a very, very important determinant of technology that we say. And as we know that right now I am talking from industry chamber perspective, wherein we deal with decision makers, and we actually understand the nuances that what's actually happening in the boardroom discussions and what is their point of view whenever we are talking about data management, when we are talking about data-driven leadership. And right now, in fact, the organizations are under tremendous pressure to actually analyze, to evaluate, and actually utilize data to the fullest. Because what happens that as the data volumes and the computing powers are increasing, in a transformation way, and combining with machine learning, with artificial intelligence, there is a lot of capability issue that is coming. Because right now, when we used to talk about the balance sheet, we used to talk about profit and loss. Right now, in fact, the digital assets, they have become a very important part and parcel of balance sheet. It's not only about what is the revenue, what is the top line, bottom line. It is basically digital assets, the digital infrastructure, both hard as well as soft. That is actually a major determinant for seeking for the financial advisors whether the company is going to be profitable or it will be going into losses. So the point of concern is that right now, as per the ITC report, close to $274 billion will be spent till the end of 2022 this year, and out of this 85% of this money will be totally going in the dustbin. There will be no utilization of this technology that is being used by the companies, because the point is that we are not actually utilizing the data to the fullest. We are not doing data mining. We are just actually bothering more about the quantity of data. But at the end of the day, for any innovation, for any data-driven decision making, it is the quality of data that actually matters. And this is again a very, very important concern, particularly in boardrooms. And right now, the biggest obstacle that is being faced by the industry, particularly if I'm talking of the manufacturing companies, it is not about the technology footprints in the in the ecosystems. It is basically the culture. Because what we have seen that particularly companies that have a legacy, or you can say the traditional companies, it's very, very difficult to change the mindset of the people who are employed there for last so many years. So until unless there is a data culture that becomes a part and parcel of each and every data point in the organization, in fact we cannot actually use data to the fullest. Therefore, when we are talking of data driven leadership, that actually goes for a toss. if we are not actually able to actually pervade this data culture in the entire gamut of the organization. Another important thing that right now is that it's also about self-servicing, because right now the customers that industry is right now interacting with, in fact the data that a company can get from one transaction from an online customer, the company cannot get that particular data from offline customers for decade or so. Therefore, right now the type of interaction, the type of data points, each and every one is encompassing. For example, if we are going for any Amazon search, we are going for any Flipkart purchase, the type of data that actually comes out or that can be utilized, that is mind-boggling, because the type of AI tools that is linked with this data, they actually help to make the business more and more profitable by acquiring more and more customers, and also by having the next purchase also by the same customer, which is known as repeat sale. And another important challenge the companies is facing in the organizations, when I'm talking about organizations, I'm talking more of on the manufacturing sector perspective, is that most of the people, like as a part of temperament, they don't like numbers, they don't like accounts, they don't like figures. They may be best in design, they may be best in the throughput, particularly in terms of going for some sort of technological innovation. But as soon as it comes to numbers, it's very difficult to actually have their say in the number game. Therefore, we need to have in fact champion people which are known as data influencers, and in fact I am privy to many of the companies wherein they have hired data influencers, and these data influencers are going, they are working in each and every department. They are spending a week in one department, another week in another department, so that they are able to mentor, they are able to coach people, they are able to actually tell the workmen that data is the essential part for any decision making. The decision making is not only subjected to the board members or to the directors of the company. It is basically each and every person in the loop who is within a department. Even between the departments, there has to be footprints of data whenever they are going for any decision making. And another thing that data influencers, again, this is a new type of job that has erupted over the past years. You just Google Naukri.com and just put data influence. You'll be surprised that this new job opportunity is having so much sort of attraction these days, that many data influencers are giving, or they are in fact doing many part-time assignments in many of these legacy companies. And as I was going through a lot of discussion in the previous plenary session also, and there was a lot of thing about data being mined, data being used. At the same point in time, the sustainability factor is a very, very important thing which we need to which has to be kept in mind all the time. Because whenever we talk of data, we are talking of huge data. In fact, during COVID times, you will be surprised that there was somewhere close to 175 zettabytes of data which was being produced. That is equivalent to 10 raised to power 21 bytes. And such data accumulation actually needs a lot of data centers. And these data centers are actually energy guzzlers. They use a lot of energy, they use a lot of power, because all these data centers, they have to be kept at optimal temperatures around the clock. So in order to have this optimal temperature, you need generators, you need diesel, you need other sources of electricity to make them working 24/7. That is again a very, very you can say important task in order to maintain a data center. And as India is in the era of digital revolution, wherein there is a lot of emphasis to make India as the global data center for the world. Again, this is again at the cost of a lot of unsustainable practices that our country will see. So as the leaders of tomorrow, as you are going to be the AI leaders of the tomorrow or data scientists, you need to keep in mind the concept of sustainability has to be there, the sustainable development, whenever you are going for any decision making for establishing new data centers. So that is again a very important thing of concern. So I just wanted to bring to your highlight. And another thing is that my point is that I am a firm believer that when we talk of technology, we talk of a lot of jargons right now. This AI and big data. I think most of the people, without understanding the true meaning of it, use these words as the jargons in the business language. But I am a firm believer that until and unless, as a countryman of this nation, we are not actually able to help the last mile customer or the person who is, at the internet, or person who actually needs mainstreaming, then our whole efforts of becoming, data scientists or becoming, technologists, it goes for a toss. Because, and as we know that right now, as there was a question in the earlier session that, the inequality, gap is increasing. Rich are becoming richer, poor are becoming poorer, and now with this, lot of inflation that has set in, you must be, surprised that the raw materials for most of the components, they have actually, the price has been doubled, and that actually is impacting not the, rich people, but the poor person, because they are paying the same price as, the rich person is, paying. So my point is that until unless we are able to bring each and every person out of the poverty in this country, whatever terminology you tell yourself that I am so and so, I am having startup, or I am an AI, I am a VC, I don't think that we are not doing any bit for our country. Because I am a firm believer that the opposite of, poverty is not wealth. Opposite of poverty is basically technology. And technology can only be reaped once we are able to educate, once we are able to skill our countrymen. And then that is the factor that where our true personality and character will be tested, if we are actually able to touch our last mile person, who is in fact a part and parcel of our own nation, of our own country. With these words, thank you very much, and thanks for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your enriching words.
Let's have a huge round of applause for Dr. Jatinder Singh. We are confident that the rich discussion had certainly enhanced the cognitive faculty of the participants and generate new perspective of designing future strategies. The house is now open for the participants to put up their queries before the expert. We request to the student coordinators to please circulate the mics. Any questions, participants?
Student coordinators, please circulate the mics. The house is now open. You can clear all your queries and ask any questions.
I think I will take the opportunity to ask questions to Dr. Puran. Since it was great to know that as an economist you have said that all the problems cannot be solved by the economist. But recently there was a very anomaly in the economy that WPI going higher than the CPI. So, do you think that it is because of the current times where the competition are higher in the industry, the profit margins are going down, it is not directly transferred to the customer, whereas obviously the raw material and other prices are increased, which was not the case earlier, right? So, from the economic point of view, what do you think that what is the effect of this higher WPI than CPI in current times? An effect on corporate and the individuals.
What happens is, and I stick to what I said, that economists by themselves cannot solve the problem, because if you really talk to any economist, or if you read economics yourself, economics like mathematics will start with a few assumptions. Like law of marginal equality. They will say that suppose I have little water and I am very thirsty, and if I take a small sip out of the water, then my thirst is going to go up. But there could be a different scenario altogether, where I just want to wet my tongue so that I could really speak better. So economics always moves on assumptions. And then you rightly said, and you answered your question by saying that, look, there is an input cost and then there is an output cost. The same thing that you are buying today for 200 rupees, for example, the same thing if the input cost goes up, if the fertilizer becomes more expensive, if the water sources become scarce, which means that you have to dig deeper, and maybe the tube well, which you earlier could do at 50 meters, due to groundwater depletion, it might be 100 meters. And therefore you might have to incur, more money on your ability to be able to hire this pumping set so that you could irrigate your field. So WPI and CPI is a function of input and output cost. But then what you have to see is that these things might also be determined by supply chain, by logistics, by you not being able to get the right price on what you're producing. So WPI and CPI could be subject to different kinds of interpretations, but at the basic of it, it is all driven by the kind of input cost that you have, and eventually what happens when you produce a particular product. So your price determinant of the final product is going to be determined absolutely by the kind of input cost that you have. And therefore, if you really apply that logic, higher the input cost, higher will be the cost of your final product. And this is where it moves in line, saying that, and don't really confuse between CPI and WPI, try and take a very straightforward calculation and see that when input costs were low and you produced a particular product, you came out with a final pricing point which really gave you certain kind of a semblance between what you did and what you came out with, and then you also put the margin of what you want to make out of it. You will finally decide through determinants on what your WPI is going to be all about. So do not really try to bring any linkage between the CPI and WPI. It is all about where you are in terms of the input cost and how will that really input cost lead you to pricing your final product. And every economic indicator operates on WPI and not at CPI. So WPI is something which you need to sort of take as a more reliable determinant of economic value creation than CPI.
Very good afternoon, sir. Sir, my name is Rajesh. Sir, actually, as Ishan sir also mentioned that artificial intelligence not only predict the disease, heart disease, but also can prevent it by initiating the signals. And likewise, yesterday Samir sir also mentioned the fact that artificial intelligence is nowadays, he actually asked a question that can artificial intelligence supersedes the human being in future or not? So, sir, my question was related to that only. Is it possible that we saw in some movies that artificial intelligence later on supersedes the human beings? So in reality, can it happen in the future or not?
I can tell you something, and this is what I said when I began to talk. But I'm very excited about what will happen tomorrow. So you walk into a theater and watch a sci-fi movie. Everything flies, you love it, and Then when you come back home, and you think about it, the reality dawns on you, and then you say, look, it cannot be, the kind of case where I was in a movie. Let me give you an example. And I'm removing AI, technology, advancement in health, everything has happened. I tell you, my grandfather lived for 102 years. My father lived for 94 years. I don't know if I will live that longer. With all AI, with all technology, with everything fitted into my body? I'm not sure. So I'm giving you a real example to think. Yeah, it's good, technology is great, but then I'm telling you, my grandfather, my father, I don't know what happens to me. Because I have every technology at my command. I have money, I can afford it. But can money every time, all the time, and never protect you from getting hit against somebody or some disease which you never anticipated? COVID-19, let's take that example. I had many friends of the similar age group who I do not find living on this earth. So I can tell you with every technology you will have new challenge. So the whole thing should be for technologists to think is to be able to prevent things. Could they prevent COVID-19 from happening? Then going around and making money and inventing products which might be needed, may not be needed by me, but they will come and sell to me, and sell that in front of my wife, and look, your husband has got some, and then my wife will force me to buy that product. So it is all marketing gimmick, I'm telling you. Technology is not a technology unless it is preventive, unless it is non-intrusive, unless it helps people at large and reaches out to the last person on the street. So I can tell you, and this is my example to technologists when they talk to me. You tell me, my grandfather 104 years, my father 94. I could save myself out of corona. I would have gone some other way. So you tell me whether you are there to prevent or predict so that some steps could be taken. Then you create a product, and this is where what you said so well, that look, it is all about value, it is all about ethics, it is all about the people you put behind in development of the technology. There was a person who was talking about gender inclusiveness, Technology, and I can tell you, technology does not differentiate between a woman's body and a man's body. So the question was wrong, essentially. So if you really put technology at par with everything else, it will come out with predictive outcomes. And my only question to technology is, answer this question. My grandfather might not have had the best of the medicines. My father might have had relatively better. I had everything. Can that technologist or AI man or woman come and tell me that everything that you have, you are going to survive equally, if not more, than a father? They cannot really tell it, because my body is my body. I have my inherited genes, which might not be passed from my mother. It might have come from my maternal grandfather, my maternal uncle, somewhere. So, I do not sort of trust into deeper conversation about technology, and I only ask technologists to answer this question. So I will stop here, but anyone in the audience, if any one of you can answer my question, I'll be very happy to hear it. So that is my sort of brief response in a bit different way by taking an example, and anyone who can contradict me, I'll be very happy to be contradicted.
Hello sir, I am Dr. Surabhi Singh. I am a faculty over here. I really have opinion, I really liked the mixed opinion which our expert speakers gave today. You spoke about it, how it is detrimental for the human existence, and on the other hand, Mr. Jatinder, we talked about that opposite of poverty is technology. So I really feel, because our student asked the question that technology will be superseding the human. Of course, it will not be able to supersede. We'll have to have collaborative kind of association with both of us. Technology and human both have to go hand in hand, because that is why we are developing cobots. That's a term we have given also in the metaverse platform, sir. and where human beings are only coming out with a lot of innovations, and they are making use of the technology for automating the whole processes. So I really think, and of course you were talking about the preventive measures, which is very much essential by use of technology. But I really think that during COVID also, technology has really helped us in giving us the corrective measures also.
When did it help? When people were dying?
Yeah, I really agree, because you know, sir, life and death is in the hand of God. We all know very well.
You know, viruses, there are, now I tell you something. There are more than 1,000 labs working around the world, in US, Canada, in China, in India, everywhere. No one could really say, I mean, I'm again not saying predicting could be taken in a very different context altogether. Nobody could really say this is already happened in Africa, Ebola, AIDS. Nobody was in a position to say that there could be a virus which might be absolutely detrimental to the human survival. It was not about life. It was about survival. So, some people did not get oxygen. Simple thing. Had to be able to get it. So, my thesis is that how do you really use or deploy technology which comes handy before you get into the loop. And this is where academic institutions like you come in. I did not speak about it because there was not enough time. Skilling. The students that you teach, values that ingrain in them. And I can tell you, any technology tomorrow will be as good or as bad as the people behind the technology. And therefore, I compliment you when you say value, morality, ethics, the kind of people that you are sort of turning out of academic institutions. And NEP does talk about it in a very passing way, but it does talk about AI and how will AI reflect on skilling teachers who will teach students, what kind of students we will be sort of turning out of academic institutions. And to sum it, I would only say that future technology will be as good or bad, as effective or as negligent as the kind of people you will have to be behind those technologies. So they might be preventive, they might be market oriented. And you see what really happens. If I were to go to a primary dispensary in my village, you will run away from that. Because systems are not existent on the ground. But you go to a private hospital, you have to pay money in order to be able to avail. I tend to get my jab from, government hospital. But my daughter and my wife, they chose to go to a private hospital. They paid some 2,000 rupees and I got everything free of cost. I still have faith that system on those hospitals which are running on profit model. So technology, what we will do, how we will do, what will happen, will all depend on the kind of people who are going to be doing it. And that is why technology should be seen as a good servant. It will be a very great master in case we could not really control things and ways we will work on technology. So that is a brief intervention that I have, unless you have anything else.
I just add another dimension to it. In fact, right now after this COVID, I think most of the discussions and debates on technology is basically, it's all focusing more or less on the healthcare sector. But I believe technology is more about the experience. Normally we talk of longevity. I don't want to live 100 years, but I want to live a very quality life. I want to have good experience most of the times, rather than looking for experiences that after 60 I'll have this experience after 70. The point is, for example, right now there is another dimension that's coming in entertainment and media services. You'll be surprised that now in another 2-3 years a technology is coming, wherein, for example, if you are a movie fan and you are going for a movie, For example, say my personality is X personality, your personality is Y personality. My personality testing, my behavior mapping is done. The last 20 minutes of the movie will be based on my own behavior, my own personality, rather than having a generic movie, the end for every movie. For example, if I'm an X personality, I want that at least at the end there should be a lot of fight, and if even the hero dies, I'll be happy because I believe that it is the powerful person who should win. Vis-a-vis, if I'm a Y personality, I'm a very subtle, I'm a sublime person. I will always strive that despite if even the hero is weak, but some godly sense something happens and immediately the villain dies and the hero emerges very very superior. So the point is that it's all about enriching our life. For example, right now most of the students while going for major or minor, we just go by peer pressure, we just go by some of the last articles we have read. We don't know what we are actually made about. Even after 50 years, it's very difficult that what's my inner voice is, what should I do? Right now, there are startups coming in genetic mapping, wherein at even 8th class itself, your genes will tell you that this is your perfect or suitable job you should go for. These are the skills you should go for, rather than just otherwise hopping in dark, whether I should go for as a scientist or maybe a mathematician or maybe an engineer or a doctor. It all depends on the experience. So I'm a firm believer that definitely technology is going to be a game changer in our lives, but at the same time, as rightly said by Mr. Pandey, that technology has always to be kept as a servant. It should not be made as a master. And again, in AI, there's a very thin line. Sometimes we have seen, like we were in part of meeting in DRDO. Nowadays, the extent is, and you have made AI in the battlefield wherein, tanks without drivers, they are just, going in the battlefield, in the enemy's, zone. And some, change in code by the enemy, your tanks can be directed towards your, battalion, and where you will go. So the point is, again, there has to be a very, very distinct marginalization wherein you can see that you're actually using technology in your favor, not in your disfavor. But again, I will reiterate that technology is going to be our best friend. It is actually to enhance the quality of our life. And the time will come where even you can predict your death also. You say, okay, I lived till say 60 years, I want such and such experiences till 60 years, and let technology be my friend in order to have all those enriching experiences in my life.
Thank you so much.
I will say this for the
one is that if you look at some of the leading B schools around the world, teaching management, so to say, they also teach philosophical foundations of management, just to reinforce on ethics and value and morality. That could be something which you must be doing here as well. But I would probably submit, because you are leading and you are so passionate about value and ethics and morality, it will be a very good idea to consider, if already not happening, to have maybe a small thing, whereby everybody in the classroom is sort of being brought at one single layer of getting exposed to what it is, how it could really benefit them, etc., etc. Secondly, I personally agree with you. I worked for Times of India and I reported directly to the Jain family. And one day when Madam Jain was alive and I was working, I went to her and I said, Madam, so she said, look, I want to live longer. I want to live a qualitative life. I also want to live longer. I mean, a lady saying it, a baroness, a person who ran a media house, which was the biggest one and is still the biggest one. Her net worth was, during those days, $3 billion. And I happened to ask her, Madam, why do you, she says, look, if I live 5 years longer, I can create more wealth and more value. So it is not about living longer or living qualitatively, it is all about doing the both. And then put the value that you could probably unlock using technology or whatever, and it is only a supplemental kind of thing, But if you put the value on your 5 years of extra life, you've done it. So I will like to live longer, and also like to live the quality of time, life, and so on and so on. So that would be my little thought about myself. I'm not really imposing it on any one of you. So feel free if you want to live lesser and with more quality. But if I'm given the choice, I'll say I want to live longer and with quality. With all the technology and money that I have, which I can afford. But I don't know, when I compare myself with my grandfather and my father, I don't know. With all technology and all the money which I have, affordability, I cannot predict, and I don't want to know when I'm going to really die as well. Because that would be chaos in the family, chaos for me, and I will not really be able to do what I want to do for tomorrow.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Your
audience.
question is very, very relevant. What's your name?
Vijay.
Vijay. But yes, I'm sure that what you were talking about is today only a concept, isn't it? How many of you have heard about Neuralink and the work which Elon Musk is doing? Okay, Neuralink is a new word to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many of you have heard about it? I would really appreciate the students who are sitting here from the management fraternity. If they have not heard yet about Neuralink, they need to know. Definitely they need to know. And the most optimistic work which is being done by Elon Musk in terms of anti-aging, and then having a concept of the brain chips of the human mind, connecting them with the external AI devices, and to claim today that tomorrow the death will never happen naturally. This is a concept which has been created by Neuralink today. How and when it will become reality, whether during our lifetime or during your lifetime, that no one knows. But yes, Elon Musk is so sure that within 10 years, he is going to create this concept as a reality. Within 10 years, which means probably we will be also able to watch this reality happening. And if this reality happens, and I'm surprised very few students have raised hands about Neuralink and the research which it is doing currently, because this is the talk of the town throughout the world. That according to that concept, the aging is not a biological problem, no way at all, as is being presumed by humankind till date. It is just a particular concept which can be eradicated by controlling the brain. That's what is the concept. So, if we go by the researches, the progress till date on monkeys, which has already been at the advanced stages by Neuralink till date, the reality definitely is even less than a decade ahead. And then the age is not going to be a number, of course. If you remember, any one of you have gone through any of the Indian scriptures, heard the stories of the ancient saints, Rishi Muni, आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि they have lived for thousands of years. They have not taken the food continuously, fasting for certain years of their life, and then living for thousands of years. So that basically is the human capability and the potential, which has been reflected already there in our ancient scriptures, in our Vedas. That is already there. I strongly believe that the science which is being doing currently is reinvention of the same wheel, which has already existed. So we already know the human potential of living beyond certain years. So human body is not to live only for 100 years. That's the reason our grandfathers, our grandmothers lived for more than 100 years. So the potential of human body to live beyond 100 years has already been established, as Dr. Puran has highlighted just now. But yes, with the help of science, the role of AI, if it can go beyond certain thousand and sometimes hundreds of years, that is yet to be seen. But yes, very, very convincing concept has been proclaimed by Neuralink that you can live minimum for more 200 years without having aid of any of the additional medical equipments. So let's see, the things are going to definitely happen during your lifetime. But yes, try to read more about that. And till now it is still a concept, it's not a reality. But imagine there are so many concepts which we have seen as a fiction during our childhood, they are today a reality. So when you are listening this concept as a fiction today, it is going to be a reality when you will be in our age, I am very sure. Then I was giving the reference the other day about the Star Trek. There have been more than 20 innovations which were fiction at the time of the Star Trek TV series. Any one of you have seen any of the episodes of Star Trek? Have you heard of Star Trek? Yes. Okay. So well, the replicators which used to be showcased in 1966 for the first time is the reality today of 3D printer. So no one would have even thought of that something can be reproduced, replicated in 3 dimensions, which was showcased in 1966 original series of Star Trek. So the science, of course, is taking a lot of leaps and bounds, and I believe in the power of current technology. But yes, the fingers have to be crossed to see whether it is going to be for the good of society or is it going to overpower the human mind or not. That is definitely a caution which has to be taken care of. But my dear students, please read more what is happening around in AI, in Neuralink, by Elon Musk. He is definitely going to be an extraordinary, technologically, you can say super driven God tomorrow of the human existence. That's what has been proclaimed today. So wish you all the best, because your population, your generation can definitely live for more than 200 years if that is going to be a truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for such intellectual questions, and thank you dignitaries for solving the queries of the inquisitive mind. Now we request all the dignitaries to come forward for the felicitation of Best Paper Awards. We will now be giving the awards for the Best Paper in different tracks.
The best paper for the track 6 goes to Ruchita Gautam, Megha Jain, Karuna Singh, Apurva Singh, Kanika Rani from KIET.
Let's have a huge round of applause for them.
Winners, please come forward. The next best paper for track 7 and 8 goes to Rahul Singhal, Shruti Srivastava from JIIT. The best paper for track 9 goes to Miss Aditi Srivastava from NIU. Winners, please come forward.
Let's have a huge round of applause for them. Thank our technical session chairperson and co-chairperson for their presence. We request
We have Rahul Singhal and Aditi Srivastava on stage.
Let's have a huge round of applause for them. Once again thank our technical session chairperson and co-chairperson for their presence. We request our dignitaries to kindly present them with a token of gratitude.
We request Dr. Satish Kumar Singh from IIMT Meerut to please come forward for the ceremony. We request Dr. Ashish Kumar Singh from IMS Ghaziabad to come forward for the felicitation ceremony.
Let's have a huge round of applause for them. are extremely grateful to our esteemed dignitaries for taking time out of their busy schedule and being with us today to share their rich perspectives with us. We wish to facilitate our honored guests, and for this we request all the dignitaries to move forward and accept a token of gratitude from us.
May we request Dr. Urvashi, Director IMS Ghaziabad, to please felicitate Dr. Jatinder Singh for presenting him a memento. May we request ma'am to kindly facilitate Dr. Puran Pandey by presenting him a token of thankfulness.
To have some fond memories of the glorious occasion, we request our dignitaries and organizing committee to please come on the dais for a group photograph.
Team, please come on the stage for the group photograph. We will now conclude the plenary session for the International Conference on Technological, Social and Economic Innovation through Artificial Intelligence, Data Science and Cyber Security.
We once again thank our distinguished luminaries for their gracious presence, the enriching perspectives shared by them while enriching the participants and delegates have been instrumental in enabling the young learners to expand their horizons of knowledge. Sirs, we eagerly look forward to welcoming you again in our forthcoming endeavors. We once again convey our deepest regards to Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS